Anyways, thank you both for coming today. It's great to have you guys on the podcast, and it's great getting to know you guys closer this semester. But yeah, boxing's been a huge highlight for me this semester, and it was great to hear your story, Aden, yesterday at Banquet. And I've known Zach before, but just to get closer to you this semester, and you've taught me a lot already as a good leader. It's helped me out, and it's been a hell of a ride, and now we're finally at the end of this semester, and Aden, you're gonna go on to do new things in the world. So, I'd love to talk about like your reflections on the whole experience, and like I guess if you could start with you, Aden, because you've been here 4 years now, right at the end. So, how would you encapsulate these last 4 years at Michigan Boxing?
I would just say a lot of my time. If I picked, I took the path where I picked one thing that I really just wanted to do, I guess, in college, and that ended up being boxing. And I guess I got lucky. I mean, it just opened up a bunch of opportunities, and met a bunch of cool people like you guys, and got to travel a bunch, do something that was like difficult but worthwhile, and I'm super grateful for that. And I said it last night at the banquet, but there's not really like you can't explain an experience like that. I feel like it's just something you have to do to really understand, because it's like for a lot of the people on the team, boxing, even if you don't continue to train after you graduate or whatever, it just changes who you are, changes the trajectory of your life, and your perspectives, and I'm a different person than I would have been otherwise, for sure.
Do you plan to continue training, competing at all?
It's a question I get a lot, and one I'm kind of still thinking about. Before going into Golden Gloves, I was like, I'm done with this crap. I'm just gonna fight, and I'm gonna give it my best, but I'm ready to chill for a little bit. And then after the fight, things go well, and it's easier to convince myself maybe if I keep training for another year, I'd come back and dust these guys, and that would be so cool, and it'd only be another year of training, and thoughts like that kind of creep in a little bit. I did jiu-jitsu for last summer. I didn't do any boxing. I just trained that at this gym in Houston, and that was awesome. So I'll definitely do some of that. I've been talking with some of the coaches about that too. Some of our boxing coaches about it. But martial arts, boxing, or whatever it looks like, it will always be a part of my life. I have no doubt about that.
That's great. Yeah, Zach, I don't know how you got into boxing. I don't think we ever talked about it, but yeah.
Yeah, my quick story is I have been friends with Rhea Gupta for a while. She, basically one of my best friends was dating one of her best friends in freshman year, so we hung out through them a bunch, became friends. And freshman year, I was pledging a fraternity, and then when I was done with that, I was kind of just enjoying not having to do all this stuff, and just kind of enjoying being a freshman and having a little bit more freedom. And I'm really glad I did that, and obviously made lifelong friends through that. But then sophomore year came around, and I was involved in some clubs freshman year, but nothing I was very passionate about. And I kind of realized, I'm a very outgoing guy. I like having my different subgroups of friends. And I kind of realized that I was kind of in my own bubble within Michigan Greek life, and I realized I didn't have a ton of friends outside of that. And I thought, I wanted a little bit of structure to my routine. I've always loved lifting and running and trying new things athletically. I did CrossFit for a bit. I love trying new things. So Rhea was on the team, and she said, I was kind of talking to her about this and how I wanted some structure and try something new, challenge myself, meet new people. And she's like, dude, I'm on the boxing team. You should completely try out. And I was down immediately. The tryouts were really hard, obviously.
Was this your sophomore year? Or?
This was my sophomore year. So I tried out fall of 2024. Yeah. And yeah, the tryouts were tough. I loved it though. And started going. I kind of took the first year, I will definitely admit, sophomore year, I kind of, Coach Rama always says, this is not a cardio club, this is not a social club. Obviously, we're a team, we love each other, but the goal is to compete, the goal is to become a better boxer. And I kind of didn't follow that advice. I kind of used it as a workout that I would go to most of the time. I would try to keep it in my routine, but I think this year I've really leveled up, and I think junior year.
I think that's an understatement.
Yeah,
That's your face every
yeah.
time.
I think one of the things I wrote when I was giving my paragraph for the board elections was that I think in the past year I've kept track. I think I've missed 8 practices in the past year. From Monday, Friday, and Sunday.
That's
out of all
amazing,
those,
man.
I think I've missed 8. A lot of them have been traveling. A couple of them have been a little busy, but usually the thing with boxing that I find so valuable is every day that I know I'm gonna, especially Monday and Friday practices. Sunday, I like how it's a little more low key. We can work on the conditioning more. But I know when I'm sparring someone or I'm doing drills, it's gonna be physically and mentally the hardest thing I do that day, and I just think it makes my outlook on the rest of the day so much better because I'm able to really just conceptualize, I'm going to get punched in the face. I'm going to be sweating my ass off. I'm going to be, just really tired and exhausted. But it gives this sense of like fulfillment that really makes things seem less daunting when you're seeing something that's hard outside of boxing. And so, yeah, and I kind of hit that realization at the beginning of this year, in the fall, and I don't know exactly what it was, but I just had this sort of drive to be better, and I really wanted to level it up. So I didn't miss really much practice at all. I really started training outside of practice. I do every Tuesday with Coach Armani. I've been doing with Juan for a while. Every Thursday I would go to Title as well. So I started training almost 5 or 6 days a week along with some other stuff, and I just really fell in love with it, like working on different things, and I obviously it couldn't be done without being surrounded with so many beasts on the team, and just so many people that I look up to in one way or another, just being able to compete and put everything that's going on in your life off to the side for 2 hours and just really pushing yourself. There's something about that I think is really valuable, and I think boxing or some form of martial arts will definitely be a part of my life as long as it can be, definitely. I just think the value of having something that is a skill that is physical that you can improve at is so valuable, because I feel like in the professional world, especially at Michigan, there's a lot of pressure to get into the corporate world, work hard, make money, do X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of people get into the monotony of working hard, then maybe going to the gym and lifting relatively consistently, eating, hanging out with some friends, going to sleep. But I feel like that loses the sense of the human nature of wanting to like play or wanting to improve. I feel like as an adult, it's very important to have a hobby that you can drive to get better at. And with a community, that's an added bonus. So I think boxing kind of checks all those boxes. And yeah, I've just loved the process for sure.
That's great, man. I forgot to tell you this before. Could you, if anything happens to the Audacity, just keep an eye on it.
No, it's good.
Looks good
so far.
Point. That's cool, man. I know you said you didn't really know like what changed this year, but if you think back a little bit more like deeply as to like your attitude toward both life and boxing, and like what kind of thoughts are going through your head this fall that led you to be so consistent and just give it your all? Like, was it a change in just your love for boxing, or did you change your perspective on just life in general and like how you want to approach like your hobbies and passions? Or
yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely a mindset switch. The past year, I've always been interested in like health and wellness and fitness, but this year I've really become more interested in like holistic, like how mental health and spiritual health and physical health are all intertwined. So kind of some of the things that I've said, I genuinely think when you bottle up your emotions or don't talk about it, or maybe not handle it in the best way possible, I do think it manifests in your mood for a longer time. And so I think being around like one of my best friends on the team, JP Figueiredo, he's abroad. In the fall we sparred a lot, and he's a really good fighter, and he would usually get the better of me. And in sparring, there was one time where I was sparring Trey, and shout out Trey, but I was sparring him and he just beat me up, and I went to the bathroom. I was like wiping off my face, and I was like so frustrated. I was almost like in tears because I thought I wasn't improving enough for how much time I put in. But then I kind of thought about to myself. I was like, you're in the grand scheme of things. You go to practice, you work hard, you're doing some stuff outside of practice, but you're going to be doing a lot more. And if you really care about this, that's what you should be doing. And then we had inter-squad bouts. I remember I texted Aden. Originally, I probably came up. I've had a few knick-knack injuries that have been legitimate and were holding me back a little bit earlier in the year. And I think I probably used that as an excuse to not do the inter-squad bouts. But then I remember texting Aden. I said I decided I actually do want to do it. Would love to get scheduled. I had the inter-squad bout, got some real fight experience and real fight reps, and then that kind of pushed me into high gear to try to get a fight at Brother Rice. And now I'm looking to join a gym this summer to keep my chops up, and then come back next year and do maybe not quite what Landon did, but get definitely a few fights and definitely take the momentum in nationals and stuff like that. I really just have loved the grind for sure. So I think it was a mix of my perspective on holistic like health and wellness and well-being and just wanting to improve and have something that I can take as like my own as part of my personality. And I think boxing's just been so valuable. I also started watching more boxing, which was really helpful. But all those things, I think all those things were kind of a perfect storm.
That's great.
Yeah. I think that's a common experience too.
Yeah.
I feel like the story you just shared is one that I've heard from a lot of people on the team.
Yeah. And one thing I'll just add is another common experience that I think we can all relate to some extent, either in ourselves or looking at other people, is that throughout high school, when you start lifting weights or you're playing sports and you start wanting to get stronger and put on muscle, I think a lot of the focus is on looking good and looking a certain way. But I think the past like year and a half or 2 years, I've really changed my focus into feeling good. Mm-hmm. And so that's been instead of eating maybe the most macronutrient bodybuilder meal ever or something, it's about eating for feeling good and operating to feel good and feel good for a long time, stretching more, walking more, breathing more, more sun,
oh, yeah.
all these things, getting more sleep, taking supplements when you need to, and moving your body in an athletic way so you're able to maintain this ability to move. And the goal for me, and I've noticed better results like training and eating and optimizing to feel good. Like I've noticed I look better and I am happier with myself and how I feel when I'm doing that. So I think boxing, just the movement and being athletic, and it creates this like cycle in your brain of wanting to improve, and I think it's so healthy.
Well, there's a lot of good stuff there I want to dig into more.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've gone through similar kind of
It's the common
evolutions
process.
of like your approach to fitness, your approach to the gym, and like I used to kind of be more focused on just aesthetics and looks before as well. But I think this year for sure, one of the reasons I joined boxing is like trying to acquire more skill sets across just like the life domain, but also within health. I think trying to become more well-rounded in the ways I train and how I treat my body. But while we're on the topic of like our evolutions with the sport, I want to ask Aden real quick, because I know going into your junior year, you were B team captain, and you originally was that sophomore year? Sophomore year.
Yeah.
You originally were not going to be the B team captain, which I found that story pretty cool because it kind of shows that your perspective on the sport has probably evolved a lot as well. But as like just an individual, then stepping up in leadership and now being the captain this year. And I'm curious, like both like your attitude toward the sport, how that's changed, and also your perspective on people and how we train as well as a captain, as a leader now.
Oh man, well, I was nominated to be a B team captain, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And it sounds so like so obvious looking back. Like I was like, no, I don't want to commit. Plainly, saying it so plainly. Like I don't want to commit. And then the fall came around. The backup guy, or the one of the guys who was going to be captain was injured or just couldn't do it or something like that for some reason. And then they're like, okay, Aden, round 2, try
Step
again.
up.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, now I will commit. And that's exactly, those words, I don't want to commit, I will commit, I feel like it's exactly how things panned out. And it reminds me of what Zach was saying about making a conscious effort to commit more effort to the team, not just the team, but their training. And that was that moment for me, and I mentioned it last night. And I think that was, like you asked about leadership, and that was obviously a moment where I was offered this chance to go pursue a leadership opportunity, and I didn't think it would become what it was. And if there's one thing I learned, like one area of my life and of my abilities that's grown the most in the last 4 years, it's definitely my leadership ability. Not only in that I figured out what kind of leader I am and what kind of environment that I'm a most effective leader. I lead by example a lot. I'm not a huge chatty or drill sergeant kind of guy, but and that example leadership doesn't always work. Like in a lot of settings, it doesn't work at all. But when it's in something like boxing, that's a meritocracy. You can't BS your way to being a better boxer. You just have to do it. I think that form of leadership works. And the form of leadership that doesn't work there is being a drill sergeant and telling everyone what to do, and you have to do this and you have to do this. If you're not doing that, people don't trust you. People don't. They don't buy in to the cause that you care about. If you're not representing that cause and being the champion of that cause, that's like the number one thing I've learned over the years.
Yeah, that's great. Has it been difficult at all as a leader? Like, is it you've been doing it for 3 years now. I mean, I wonder, at first you obviously didn't want to do it, but,
yeah.
I guess it also depends on the importance you give that role and, wanting to do a good job. But,
certainly.
Has it been stressful? How have you learned to, do a good job?
Yeah, so of course it's been stressful. I mean, I feel like look back at the most stressful moments, or maybe not moments, but periods in my life, and it's when school is at the highest height, and at the same time when boxing is at the highest stress level. It's those are the moments when I feel like I'm in the weeds, and boxing has definitely, plain and simple, contributed to that a lot. But there's a ton of other. I could be stressed for a bunch of other reasons that aren't beneficial to me or to other people and to this organization. I could be stressed because I'm skipping classes, or I have bad relationships, or I could be stressed because I have a poor relationship between my physical, my mental, my spiritual well-being. So it's a good reason to be stressed, and a good reason to run into difficulties in your life, I think. And I think that's kind of a weird thing to say. It's a good thing to have difficult things to face, but it makes sense when you live it and look back on it. And not just the training, but the organization and administration part of the roles that I've been in are arguably the worst part, because it's you have to be a leader, and you have to be a large figure for people to look at, but also you can't be too good at just take out the trash, when it needs to be taken out, the little things that need to be picked up and taken care of.
Helping with the ring setup.
Exactly.
Stuff like that.
Annoying little things that someone's just got to do it.
Someone's got to do it.
And it's got to get done. And at the end of the day, after no one volunteers, it falls on you. And then whatever, I could say that sucks, but you also kind of just have to love it. You just got to love being that guy, and you learn.
Yeah.
I also just will say, I think obviously I'm hoping to have a board position this next year, but I also think, I'm assuming that it means a lot when you feel actually appreciated, or when you feel okay, maybe I'm leading by example and I'm seeing people actually listen, or I'm seeing, like you said yesterday at the banquet, we had over 50 fights this year, which is
58
fights this year, which is
that's not including Trey's fights actually.
Yeah.
Trey's,
He had a lot.
So it's over 60.
He studies at a different school, but
Yeah.
he comes to our events, so yeah, well over 60.
So I think just seeing those results, like, you can be proud of yourself as being one of the facilitators of that. Like, that's obviously like a huge accomplishment as well, and it obviously takes a lot of time to do those little things. But that's one of the things that stuck with me when you were speaking yesterday about the miles traveled and the fights
It's impressive.
fought.
It really is.
It was
It's
really
impressive.
fun.
It's hard to
like,
get
dig through
events
that.
and just like, you led well. So I mean, just obviously, I think receiving the appreciation and the recognition is important for that to feel fulfilling, and maybe helps with the stress when you're feeling like
For
it,
sure.
like it maybe is getting overwhelming.
Yeah. Sometimes people would like, It's nice to get that feedback, like that people supporting you, and often people will come up and say like, "Hey, man, I know things are tough, but like you're doing a great job," and that's always a great feeling. It's even better to like see the process that you've been following and the process that you've been buying into. It's been trusted, and then the outcome is like what you were hoping for. When people, what I'm trying to say is like when people win their fights, when people have first round stoppages, and it's like that's even more rewarding to see that product.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to me that when I first came here and saw the talent we have, I assumed a lot of you guys have been boxing your whole life, but it was cool to me that so many people just came to Michigan and just picked it up so quickly in just a few years.
It's pretty cool.
And that's kind of motivating me a lot too, because I feel like I haven't reached that point in the journey that you guys have where it become my whole thing. It's my first semester, and
Yeah.
and I'm going to every practice, but I know I could be doing more if I gave it my all, like just going out of the 3 practices or going more times a week.
Right.
And I plan to train over the summer and see if I can kind of reach that level where this is not just a supplemental thing, but maybe a bigger thing, and see if it fits into that. But it is cool that this is one of those sports where most people do start later, and a lot of people can get good pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That's very common in all martial arts as well. Yeah, a lot of champions, don't start till they're in their 20s or 30s.
I think Anthony Joshua started boxing when he was, he started boxing earlier. But there's many people that started martial arts later. Like John Jones, I think, started pretty late. Prince Ngannou as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely Princess Ngannou.
Yeah.
Zach, have you ever grappled or anything? Or
I actually haven't. I haven't done any form of jiu-jitsu or anything, but a lot of my friends back home do some form of, I have some friends that were on the wrestling team. I have some friends that do jiu-jitsu now. One of my best friends, David, shout out again, he got me into the UFC because he did karate since he was 6 years old. And then
can I cut you off? Is karate just for young people, or is that an actual martial art?
No, it's
legit.
It's legit. It's more so about. Actually, I can't even speak enough on it. I think a lot of it's like an introductory martial art and then there's of course like competitions. Like there's some UFC fighters that their background and what they're best at is karate. Like Wonder Boy. I'm thinking about him, but. Then my friend David, he transferred over to Muay Thai, so he started doing kickboxing. And that's obviously a big part of martial art or MMA. So he got me into the UFC, and that's probably, if I didn't get that introduction and become a UFC fan in high school, I probably wouldn't have been as open to Ria's suggestion of trying out to boxing, because then I would have been completely new to it. But no, to answer your question, I haven't done any grappling. I definitely think I want to try jiu-jitsu at some point. I think it's extremely valuable.
It's fun.
I know you're a former wrestler.
Yeah, I messed around with jiu-jitsu like a few summers ago a little bit, but I wrestled in high school. So,
awesome.
Yeah. I find wrestling a lot of fun because it's definitely more technical than boxing. Boxing can become technical if you wanted to. It's been so deep you get into it, but
I don't know. I might push back on that. Like I don't have wrestling experience, but as someone who in the past 6 months or so, when feel like I've really hit my stride in terms of improving in boxing, and I've been watching tape, and that's what I had this debate. I was telling you about this. I had this debate with my brother, MMA versus boxing, which one's harder. You
Ooh.
think obviously MMA, you have to be good at more things, right? But as someone who I think got into a decent level of boxing and where I can recognize skill, the amount of mastery that goes into like these movements is really extraordinary. Like you know, like the difference, throwing a correct hook or something is so technical, I think, and obviously doing a certain takedown in wrestling, I don't know exactly the terminology and stuff, is very technical as well, but I just think I do think boxing is, they call it like the sweet science. I think at a high level it's so technical, and I've seen videos where UFC fighters are doing some boxing sparring against a professional boxer.
They look ugly.
And they just look horrible because there's really levels to it. So I do think obviously you need to be a jack of all trades in MMA, and then you got to be a master at one thing in terms of boxing. And I do think there's a ton of technique and just head movement and, you know, footwork and just being able to work at a rhythm. I do think it's very technical. I wouldn't say more than wrestling, but I do think they both, martial arts, that's one of the like beautiful things about it. I don't know.
No, I agree with you. I think on the surface level, I think boxing is seen as just like the tough man sport, just like the stronger
For
man
sure,
sport.
for sure.
But
that's
there's
what people
definitely a
think
lot.
when I tell them I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on the Mish Club boxing team. Like, you think Aden's a mean guy who's looking to scrap everyone he sees
also
that he
hurt
gets in a
people.
disagreement with? No, I don't think so. They're like, oh, you probably are, you know, violent or something. No,
Yeah.
it's not that at all.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I mean, there are definitely the violent people, but I feel like most martial artists tend to be very calm.
Just because they don't, because people that are crazy and violent don't last. They don't last in the sport.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of gives you a way to regulate it in a way, and they tend to be the most like chill people that I've met.
Yeah, I think Mike Tyson had a quote where it's like, a violent man gets hurt in this sport or something. He
Tough-
gets
yeah,
hurt by
the
the
tough guy or
tough
whatever,
guy
yeah.
gets hurt in the sport by the smart guy or something like that. I think it was on David's.
It was. That was just. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
the one thing I got from it.
Yes.
No, but definitely throwing a good jab or hook is like very difficult in boxing to get like master, and even beyond that, there's like so much depth in, you know, every little movement.
So much just weight distribution and
Yeah.
being able to control your body and not fall over your punches and being able to use your core to your advantage. Yeah, I think there's a lot of technique to it, and I think it's just to reiterate, it's been awesome.
But one thing I love about jiu-jitsu that takes it to a whole other level, I think, and like what you can do. I mean, you could tell me more what your experience with it, but.
I like jiu-jitsu a lot because the training approach is different than the boxing training approach. I like it because you could be like the same skill level as a person, but if they know one more move than you know, they're gonna crush you every single time. At least that was my experience, or like one thing I kind of picked up from my experience. I like that jiu-jitsu is a little bit more of a game, a little bit more like a little more playful than boxing, I think, and I think that experience of like training playfully translated to boxing well, or in a way I didn't expect, I should say.
No head damage.
Right.
That's the best part. I do miss wrestling though. I mean, I do like boxing a lot. It's early for me, but I hope I can develop the same kind of love for it. But I think doing wrestling for so long, it's like I definitely developed a lot of love for that as a sport.
How would you say, I'm going to ask you a question, how would you say the workouts compare? Because I feel like their wrestling workouts are obviously so intense as well. And some of the workouts we do, of course, are very intense. How would you say compares in just terms of conditioning and mental fortitude and stuff like that?
They're more comparable than you think in terms of like practice to practice,
Obviously,
in terms of like what you do. Like, you know, there's technique training and there's going live and sparring.
Same
I would
structure.
say, a lot of similar structure, so it was definitely like easy to pick up on. But I'd say going live is probably harder than sparring, just because, I mean, it's like a full body workout and there's just so much going on. I find that the conditioning was probably worse for wrestling. You know, I mean, they're both top level. But
And like you said earlier, it just depends on how far you take it.
yeah, because if I want to take boxing harder, I can make it just as hard as wrestling
Right.
But my current approach to it, wrestling has been a lot harder. But again, like with anything you do, it's how much you push yourself and how deep you get into it. But they have their similarities, but they're also very unique in their own ways.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, it's cool, man. I mean, it's cool to see like both perspectives a little bit now. And if I can, I wasn't the best wrestler because I started pretty late, so I only did it for about 3 years. And I feel like if I had another year or two, I can get a little bit better. I think people tend to pick up boxing quicker than wrestling.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, for me, like, fitness has always kind of been like a supplementary thing for my life. Like, it's never been like the primary thing where it's like, it's always a priority, but it's always designed to kind of support like my bigger goals in life.
Yeah.
And it's served me really well in that way because it's kind of cool to have something else to work on outside of like your main goal, just to kind of get your head out of the water and not just for like a workout every week, but also like, okay, it's cool to work up to getting a fight and winning a fight as like a complete separate thing to think about. And for that reason, I feel like it'll stay a part of my life for a long time in some form or fashion. And I hope that in the next few years I can get good at boxing and maybe go back to wrestling or jiu-jitsu and pick up these things and be like a more well-rounded kind of fighter.
100%.
But, you know, it's exciting. So
I think it's supplementary in so many ways because, like I said, I think, you know, when you're obviously the goals are to be happy and do well for yourself and whatever you're passionate about, but to have that, you have to have some sort of, you know, mental like closure, obviously feel self-confident about yourself, and I think boxing helps towards that. I think if you're going to be successful in what you want to do, I think, you know, being physically healthy does contribute to that. You're able to work for longer or just be able to have confidence walking into a room when you're giving a presentation or something. I think those things matter, and I think it's supplementary, you know, to clear your head and just hit the heavy bag or, you know, do some drills in that facet, and then you're able to. I think I've gotten. I'm not a very religious person at all, but I think I've gotten more like spiritually in tap with how I believe about how I operate as a human because of boxing and doing these hard things consistently. Like I think I reflect better. I watch some tape, you know, and I'm able to just. I've noticed I'm able to sit with my thoughts a bit longer than I was before I was taking it seriously and go for a walk, no stimulation or something, and stuff like that. I think is so helpful in your primary goals, quote unquote. And I think it's supplementary in so many ways that it almost feels like to the point where if I'm not doing a hard workout in 3 days or something, I feel a little off. And sort of like what Coach Alejandro was saying in practice on Friday, he was feeling a little funky the whole week. We did some live rounds, light sparring, and he felt great after and with his bloody nose and stuff. So I just think it speaks to like the, you know, the supplemental factor in so many ways. I just think it provides support in so many facets of your mental, physical, spiritual well-being. Just the art of doing hard things. I think it's sometimes forgotten in this day and age, and I think it's really important. I don't know.
I think, yeah, you touched on the word spiritual a lot, like, throughout.
Yeah. And
I feel like when you say that, everyone can kind of feel it a little bit in their own experiences, like what that word meant to them and whatever. Because I feel like I can kind of feel what you're saying through other experiences I've had. But I'm curious if you want to, like, walk me through more, like, when you talk about holistical health, spiritual health, like, how all these things kind of come together, like, what that means to you, in a way, if you want to.
Yeah, no, I mean, my whole philosophy with, I mean, I could talk about this forever, but like my whole philosophy is that I just think, again, like I said, I think things have, we live in a modern time where everything, you're able to, you know, medicine and science are all better, which are all great things, but I think everything is at the top, like the touch of your fingers. If you need food, you can order DoorDash, or if you just need anything, you can go on your phone and grab it or something, which is great. It makes ease of, like, the convenience is very good, but I do think it, obviously, one aspect of it is just the digitization of everything, and everyone's always on their screen and stuff. And I think, again, like, being able to just be in a community where other people are working towards the same goal of bettering themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, having that push off you know, you're able to kind of bounce ideas off of each other and talk in a human way. I think it's so important. And for me, I just try to kind of live like an 80-20 rule of like doing 80% of the things all the time that I need to do, and 20% having a little bit more fun time, whether it's going out or whether it's eating a meal that's not the healthiest thing ever. But I think having that balance is like so important. And spiritually, I just think silence is so important. I think, whether it's when you're laying down to go to bed or when first thing I do, I have like a 5-minute stretching routine in the morning. First thing I always try to do is drink like my water bottle and then stretch a little bit. I think it's like, again, once you start stacking up these small wins throughout the day, it makes everything so much easier. Everyone talks about making your bed and stuff, and that's another aspect. I always do that in the morning, but I always try to drink my, whatever it is, 16 ounces of water, stretch for 5 to 10 minutes without touching my phone, make my bed, walk to the bathroom, brush my teeth, and then I can maybe start my day. And I just think it's like these little micro wins and being able to recognize and be positive enough to know that, maybe this day will suck in some facets, but I already had these wins and I'm stacking them because, it's helping me become a better person every day. And I think, that's what I would think.
I can relate heavily to that. Like even those specific things you do in the morning. It's crazy what that like 5 or 10 minute first thing you do of the day can like how much it can affect you and like change how you feel throughout the day.
Yeah.
Seriously.
One quote that I always that always stuck with me from, there's a podcast I listen to. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's called Higher Up, the Higher Up podcast.
Familiar.
There's this influencer. His name's Higher Up Wellness. This guy Michael Smoke. He gives kind of motivational speeches, and he's all about health, wellness, public speaking, stuff like that. Kind of holistic confidence and stuff like that. And I highly recommend it. He has this quote that he always says that he got from somewhere else, but it always sticks with me. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I think doing hard things gives you a sense of self-confidence. And the quote is, self-confidence is not about shouting meaningless affirmations at yourself in the mirror, but it's about having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. So what that means and how I interpret that is that self-confidence doesn't come from like self-belief, it's evidence-based. You have to prove to yourself that when something happens in your life, you have the tools because you've done something hard before. When you're dealing with like a breakup or a tragedy in your family or just some health issue, a lot of things more things are in your control than you think. And I think a lot of stuff comes down to little decisions throughout your life, throughout your week, throughout your month that compounds all the time, that makes you a stronger person, and you're able to just persevere a little better because you don't have a self-belief problem, it's an evidence problem. You need to create these stacks of evidence that if you say you're not going to check your phone the first 15 minutes of the day, you actually don't do it. It's about building up that self-belief through evidence that you can do what you set your mind to. So
that's a great quote, and I think everyone can feel it in some other fashion where like if you go in the gym for 6 years, like you won't need to shout affirmations that I know how to work out. Like you just look at the 6 years of proof of like I know how this shit works.
There's also no one path. Everyone has their own. There's certain things that everyone I think should prioritize, like eating well when they can and moving their body as much as they can and trying to educate themselves on what they're passionate about, not just their career drive, but just what they're interested in. I just think self-confidence is not about shouting meaningless affirmations at yourself in the mirror. It's about creating stacks of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. So I just think that's a good quote, and it always encourages me to do hard things. Like when I don't want to go to practice at all, when it's the last thing I want to do, I don't want to get hit in the face or like hit the heavy bag and do, like a burnout round for 3 minutes of straight punches. But
sucks.
Even sometimes the thought of warming up.
Yeah.
It's just like,
oh
my
God.
40 squats.
Yeah. So I just think I think self-belief and self-confidence it's about creating evidence and being able to tap into that evidence like, I've created this mental fortitude because I want to do hard things and improve. So
no, I think that's what helped me like through tryouts and boxing a lot, because I think the thoughts that kept going through my head when I was in boxing tryouts is like, I've already wrestled for 4 years, like I should be better than everyone here, and I think that it mentally helped me a lot because I was like, I kept telling myself this is nothing. I have evidence or proof that I can do this.
Exactly.
And I ended up like didn't even feeling too bad. I think because of that, what I kept telling myself, and I mean it wasn't just like false because I had the proof to back it up.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what's mentally got me through that, and I completely agree. And I also love like your approach to front loading the day or like starting the day strong, because I mess around with my routine a lot. Like I like to change it every few months just to get a new change of pace. And I always feel the best when I try to like finish as much as I can done in the morning, like especially when I'm trying to like finish a lot of work in the day and I get 2 or 3 hours in the morning. Like the rest of the day just follows that energy. And
There's no one size fits all. Like, I just think there's a few, another thing from this podcast is he always says, like, figure out what your floors are. Figure out what your minimum effort that you can do on the day you feel the least motivated. What's the minimum commitment you give yourself towards self-improvement? And that could be, a 15, that could be getting 8,000 steps at some point in the day. That could be about, doing your morning routine and not checking your phone until 15 minutes after. Whatever it is, your minimum, because you're not going to feel like that every day. You're going to want to feel a little more ambitious most days. But at least hitting this evidence-based minimum, I think, is really important. And, I don't know, doing the things you don't want to do when you don't want to do them is pretty hard,
yeah.
I don't know.
I'm curious if you both have dealt with this, but I feel like a lot of people who tend to like, have routines or do hard things, etc. Like, I used to be in the past be like a big on rules, where I would say I have to this, I have to that, as whether that could be a daily routine or like a goal I've set for myself. And I used to always like try to hit those targets, but then like whenever something little would get messed up, it would like overwhelm me and stress me out, and I'd feel like a failure, or I would feel like the rest of the day doesn't matter because like I fucked up on this one thing. And I think over time my perspective has shifted from like rules to attitude, where instead of just like I have to get up at like this time every single day, it's the attitude of I like to get up early. And I feel like that helped me so much because it kind of comes back to like the 80-20 thing, where it's if I overall have the attitude of like push myself and working hard, I'll probably tend to do that more than if I have to like follow this rule, because
You won't burn out.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I think it's honestly, I think it's a side effect of trying to be a high performing person. Like there's a very, very thin line to, and I've noticed this at Michigan when you're surrounded by a ton of people that are really, really smart, really ambitious. It's a thin line between kind of pushing yourself to stick to your evidence-based plan, but also give yourself some grace, because what are you working hard for 90% of the time if you can't give yourself a little bit of leeway the 10% of the time? And that doesn't mean getting yourself off the hook, but it shouldn't feel like a complete loss if one thing doesn't go your way, because life doesn't work like that. Not everything's in your control. And like I said, I think a lot more is in people's control than they think or want to take responsibility for, but not everything. So
I really like that, what you said about going from having rules to just having like a good attitude, because I feel like I've felt the same thing, and I know that like rules and like saying I'm gonna wake up at 6 a.m. every day and I'm gonna drink this many ounces of water, like I don't even know what that many ounces of water looks like. Like having rules like that kind of like I think throws people off, but I could never put words to it. But you saying switching from rules to attitude, like flick the switch in my brain.
We're not robots,
Yeah,
it's not like complete this check. Not every day's different,
Because then you build habits. When you have a good attitude, then it's just like becomes something you just
you
do.
make better decisions.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I think that, like in the past, I've seen so many people who like will try to set like a goal, like I'm gonna eat clean for 60 days.
It's a New Year's resolution.
And then when 60 days is over, it's like you just stop. So like, what was the point of that in the first place, right? But if you're just like, I like to eat healthy, like 12 days in, I just ate like a sweet treat, whatever. It's like I like to eat healthy. It's what I do. But a lot of people, if they fail it, they'll like fail for the next 48 days, start the next cycle. It's like I feel like you should just approach life with like not being super extreme. Like I think I've learned that my intuition is smarter than I think. Like I used to try to think my intuition or my feeling was not smart, so I try to overwrite that. But I think once if you're on top of shit most of the time and you've been doing this for a while, like sometimes if your body's just telling you that like it's okay to like just chill out for a day or two, it like helps you to kind of balance it out. And
you need it for sure.
And I think the mindset of establishing those minimums is important, because like even when you don't want to do it, you want to go for a 15-minute walk in a day or something, and or you want to go to bed at a reasonable hour. Establishing those minimums helps develop those habits. And I mean, like one salad doesn't make someone who's unhealthy healthy, and one unhealthy meal doesn't make a healthy person unhealthy. Like it's all about balance. So definitely can relate to that.
Yeah, like sweet treat every now and then won't kill
Oh
you.
my god, I have the biggest sweet tooth ever. So.
Yeah.
I used to be so
Ice
extreme
cream.
about this. When I was in high school, I used to be way too extreme
Same.
about like,
Again, I
clean
think it's
eating.
the arc of like the
Something in our generation.
something about it.
yeah.
I don't know.
It's a good experience to go through, though.
I think there's a common arc of people wanting to gain muscle, and they're in the gym 2.5 hours a day doing no cardio but just lifting and talking to their friends in high school, and then they're like, oh, I want to learn how to run a couple miles, and then they start running a little bit, and then they maybe want to do something less monotonous that's a little more athletic, so they start training jiu-jitsu or something. It's
so relatable.
and then start doing all these things together and turn into like a hybrid athlete sort of thing. I know that's the trend and stuff, but like I do think it's a
Pickleball.
yeah. I do think it's kind of it's something I've seen that's common among people that are consistently working out or something.
You know what? At least it's a trend that's like going in the right direction.
It's going in the right
not
direction.
Like,
TikTok.
yeah, like a crazy, big, destructive one.
Yeah.
It's a good move.
Yeah.
I
So I just think the sense of community and and sometimes in boxing, but other fitness, like if I'm somewhere and I don't have access to a boxing gym, I could join a run club or something. There's always something to combine this community with bettering yourself, and I think it's becoming a trend nowadays, which I think is good. I think it's not all looking bad for us,
I think community is such an important point you bring up, because I used to have the mindset before that, I mean, you could just learn anything you want, and it's true, right? Like if I want to pick up a skill like guitar or something over a summer, you can teach it to yourself, but I feel like it's so much easier to pick up a new skill if there's so many people doing it with you.
It's like learning a
exponentially
language,
more. Like if you have a group of people, it gives social pressure. You're excited to see them every time, and you're all learning it together. Which is why, like, I feel like as I go forward, like, there's so many things to learn in this world, and that's what's most exciting for me. Like, I like to pick up a new skill every semester if I can, even if it's small.
Yeah.
But I know that doing it around people, I think I realized that through boxing the most this semester, because in college I've been doing a lot of cool stuff, but on my own a lot. And I want to start like joining more like community based kind of like learning new skills.
So
around
healthy.
People. And it's so much more
This is
fun.
what human beings have been doing forever, and can't lose that. So
Yeah, that's great. So you guys want to talk to me about your favorite fight over the last 3-4 years now? What comes to mind?
I just have one. So
Oh, you have one? Okay.
Yeah.
well, yeah. I mean, I
Oh, that's Brother Rice, right? I watched that fight.
Yeah. I had my first fight at Brother Rice, February, I believe it was.
Yeah, first week of February.
Yeah, first week of February.
5th or something.
Yeah, I wasn't able to go to nationals, unfortunately. But so I had my first fight, Brother Rice. It was pretty intense. I mean, like, I didn't really know what to expect, but I thought I'd been sparring really hard rounds for a while, and I thought that would maybe prepare me, but it's just completely different, especially in amateur boxing, where, for anyone that doesn't know, it's at the beginner level, it's 3 rounds that are 2 minutes each, 6 minutes total. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a complete sprint the whole time. And my fight style, I was fighting someone that was similar stature, southpaw, which I didn't know until 2 hours before the fight. So I was like in the back room with Coach Yuha, like he was standing southpaw. I was just working on shooting the 2 down the middle and stuff. But my style is I like to pressure, and that's what he liked to do as well. But I was able to kind of assert my will on that, and I think that was I was doing a lot of mental sort of visualization of how I wanted the fight to go. I talked to Coach Yuha about that, and so I wanted the fight to go that way where I was pushing the pace. But come the end of round 2, I was super tired, and the 3rd round, I think he probably won that round, or it was way closer than the first 2, for sure. But it was a dog fight. At Brother Rice, it's a charity event in Michigan at this school, and everyone was smoking cigars, and it made it really, really hard to breathe and like think, and I was getting hit a lot. Again, I think the adrenaline kind of made me, especially when I was getting tired, I was moving my head less. I was kind of just slugging, as opposed to sticking to boxing. I was fighting instead of boxing. Those are 2 definitely different things. So I don't think I was moving around enough. But yeah, and then I'm not gonna lie, from the last like minute of the last round to maybe 15 minutes after the fight, I don't really remember it. I went to the doctor the next day. I didn't have any sort of like actual concussion symptoms, but I think just the consistent getting hit in the head with the 12-ounce gloves and the adrenaline plus the smoke, like all of those things combined, was pretty overwhelming. Like I don't remember my hand getting raised. Like legitimately, I don't really remember. I have a video of my hand getting raised. I know I like went over to the guy and like gave him a hug or like handshake or whatever. But when I won, but it was pretty intense. I mean, I remember looking back at the video, the crowd was really loud, and I had a lot of my really good friends there. But I had no clue that was going on. It was just a complete blur. And that's one thing I want to work on as I get more fights and get more, more sparring rounds in. I want to make sure I'm really using all of the technique that I've learned and spent a ton of time on. I want to make sure that doesn't go to waste. And it's easier said than done to keep your hands up and stay turned and not square up and give them a bigger target. But that's one thing I've been working on. And yeah, I mean, again, probably hardest thing I've ever done, biggest mental challenge or leap of faith I've ever done. It's pretty different actually having someone in there trying to end the fight and punch you in the face enough times to where the ref has to separate you. And I just think it's again, I think it goes back to doing hard things, getting out of your comfort zone, and I think it was like one of the most valuable experiences that I've had in college for sure.
Wow.
So yeah.
Great story.
Yeah, so there's so much I can relate to there.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. I needed time to think because I fought 16 times
Yeah.
Take your
in
time.
the last 4 years. And I definitely, like I said, I relate to the first few fights I had just being a blur. Not just memory-wise, but like thinking, like I don't know. I can think about my most recent couple fights and think about. I remember the strategies I had going in. I remember how some of the rounds went, and I have memories, like actual memories of them. Whereas the other ones in the beginning, not because I got hit in the head a ton, but because you just get overwhelmed with adrenaline, and I don't remember the play-by-play of those early ones at all. Especially my first fight was at Brother Rice too, actually.
Oh, so
So similar experience. I think I laid on the ground for like half an hour afterwards, just
I
like
think I was the
heaving.
second to last fight, so the smoke had been building up the whole time.
It's crazy.
That's a crazy environment, and not only is it smoky,
Came up
and
with that idea.
everyone's
Combat sports with a smoke-filled room.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's super rowdy, but
Yeah.
it's fun. It's my favorite one to go to and watch.
Rips the Band-Aid off a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think I have two fights that come to mind that kind of felt like they had the most like emotion attached to them. One was when I won the novice division championship for USIBA last year when we were in Georgia.
Yep.
Yeah, it would have been just over a year ago. That was super emotional because I remember like feeling and allowing myself to allow my emotions to flow, like right at the very end when I got my hand raised. And before that, I try to stay super calm and like relaxed in the ring and kind of detached from the outcome. And that served me well, I think, over the years. But in the moment, I was done. That was my last fight of the year. Like it's what I fell short of achieving the year previous. I in the 168 novice division, I lost in the semifinals the year before, and I won, and it was fantastic. And I just like had never felt so much emotion, like just like coming out of me in this sport up until that moment. So that was a super memorable experience. And then the other one I can think of is again at nationals, this most recent one. I lost in the open division, so 10 plus fights is open division. Semifinals. There was only 4 guys in my bracket, so the semifinals was like the round 1, essentially. If you win that, you go to the championship. And that was emotional for like a lot of other reasons. You know, I'd never been hit so hard in my life. Like, I still feel like I know exactly where it hit me. Like, I'd never been knocked down in a fight before. I had an 8 count. That was a real moment. I traveled so far, like with my team to Las Vegas, and you know, I'm like a leader on this team, and I'm trying to carry the weight of the team on my back, and then I go to Las Vegas and I lose in the first round, and I'm done, and now we're here for 3 days, and I haven't contributed any points to our point total, and like, I'm in open class, so a win is worth more than a win in beginner class. You know, not the way the points scoring works for this tournament. And that was a big deal, and I just felt like, oh man, I felt so upset, and it felt weird to feel that upset so late in my career. You know, like, you see beginners lose and feel really down on themselves because they've never had that kind of experience before. They've never gone through it. What it feels like to lose something that you put so much effort into, like a boxing match. And I'd felt that before, and I was like, okay, cool, like, I know how to handle that, and I had lost before, and that was fine. But this one, you know, had a lot of emotion attached to it, and that was tough. And just like Jack, I like definitely moments from that fight and from that evening, like the rest of the night, that I don't remember, either from adrenaline or just being a little punch drunk or whatever. Like,
Yeah, it's definitely a combo of the two.
Yeah, and so that whole fight was, it was like a welcome to this new, larger world of boxing where the skill level's better, and I think that's going to be one I think about for a long time. But an experience, you know, I'm grateful for, nonetheless.
There's probably so many thoughts going through your head.
Yeah, that was a crazy night. My whole family was there too.
Yeah.
Like, it was my sister's spring break, and so my parents were like, yeah, let's go to Las Vegas for spring break, and my grandparents were there, and I was like, man, my whole family's here watching. And it was a good fight. It was a split decision. I mean, to my surprise, to be honest. But
You thought you
I think it's because
it?
he got a point off in the third round for ducking his head. You know, if you duck your head too low, the ref will
Below the waist.
stop. Yeah. Like, if you look down, or like turn your back, or clinch too hard or something, like, the ref will step in and say, like, stop that. And they'll only tell you to stop so many times before they take a point off.
Mm.
And basically, taking a point off in boxing is like you lose the round.
It's huge, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, we could go on and on about the legitimacy of the scoring of this organization.
I've never learned. I don't know how it works.
Well,
too much depth.
the way it usually works is you score the round. If you win the round, it's 10-9 to whoever wins the round. Usually, there's very rarely a 10-8 round. That means basically you probably knock down the person a couple times. It's probably different in amateur boxing because there's less. There's less rounds, but yeah, I mean, so taking a point off would make the round 9-9, and that would basically, it would be pretty big, especially with 3 rounds.
Yeah, so if you decisively win every round, then you win the fight 30-27. That's like how professional boxing is scored. You'll see it, and that's actually how UFC MMA is scored. Yeah. At least I don't know how other promotions do it, but that's like super common. It's like highly debated because it's
so subjective,
super
especially
subjective.
At the amateur level. I mean, at nationals the judges are definitely better, but they're not like some of the local shows. But it's still very.
You never know.
Very, very
you never know.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes you change your mindset and just have to be like, whatever. I'm just gonna outperform. You know, regardless of.
Yeah.
You can't care about, or you can't lean on the judges doing their job correctly.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to say that because that casts them in a bad light. Yeah, but you can't leave no doubt. You know, they're usually all volunteers and they're working hard and they love the sport, and I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, it's just the nature of the sport.
I also think they're supposed to score based on points and strikes landed, but there's definitely an intrinsic factor about looking at how much damage was done. Like, because not every punch is created equal. You know, you can do a jab that skims the headgear that counts as a point, or a stiff jab straight in the nose that busts up the person's nose. Those are each a point, but that's completely different. So maybe the judge they each kind of have their own way of scoring it, even though it's supposed to be objective on points. It's hard.
Yeah, that's what probably makes it so challenging, because it's very different in wrestling. I don't know how much you would know, but It's like you get points for very specific things
Yeah.
you do. Like if you take someone to the ground, you get 2 points. If you're like on the ground, you get up, you get a point. If
Yeah.
you like are on the ground, you get around, get on him, you get 2 points. There's like very objective things you can do to rally points and win. Which is why this is very different to me, like seeing how boxing works and.
It's
'cause
kind
I
of
was never
vibes,
big in
you
that.
know.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of
Pretty
like
vibes, yeah.
that's you either won or you didn't based off how it felt.
Yeah.
There,
you know?
as I've been getting into watching more boxing, I've tried watching some classic fights and tried scoring it myself, and I it's pretty hard.
Really?
Like I watched the first Canelo Triple G fight, which was a draw, but everyone, all boxing experts have said Triple G won that fight or should have won that fight, and I was scoring it. I probably scored 7 rounds to him and 5 to Canelo, but one person had like 9 rounds to Canelo and 3 rounds to Triple G.
How many rounds were there?
It's 12 rounds.
Wow.
Professional boxing is
I don't know
completely
about that.
different. Yeah, it's
How long are these rounds?
3 minutes.
12 3-minute rounds?
Yeah, the pace.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
The being a professional boxer versus amateur is completely different. Like
That's
it's
insane.
it's like sprinting pace where you're constantly you're throwing every second in amateur boxing or 2 seconds, whereas you got to pick your shots. And the first 3 rounds sometimes are like Floyd Mayweather. First 3 rounds would always be a feeler round. He'd throw very few punches, but just kind of
That's cool.
set up traps for the next 6 rounds or whatever.
So it's a lot more technical, slow.
It's like you wouldn't believe it's such an art. So that's kind of what I
I
realized.
should watch more.
Yeah, and once
So-
you've trained a little bit and you kind of have a feel for the sweet science, and you're like,
Yeah.
and you watch the pros and you can really appreciate what they're doing, and you're like, you see a little movement in the 3rd round, and then he knocks him down in the 8th round, and you're like, oh my god, that's like there was a connection there. And you see that, you appreciate it. It's like it's a crazy experience.
Wow.
Last thing I'll say about that, I watched a fight that was Bernard Hopkins versus Oscar De La Hoya. Bernard Hopkins was a middleweight who had 20 title defenses. He defended the title 20 times in the 2000s and 90s. He fought Oscar De La Hoya, who'd moved up like 20 pounds throughout his career to get to middleweight. And I was listening to the announcer because Bernard Hopkins doesn't have a very entertaining style. He's like a tactician. He's very just technical, looking to get points and stuff. Didn't have a ton of knockout power. And the announcer, who clearly was a big Bernard Hopkins fan, was saying, you never know with Bernard. He's probably setting something up for the next round, or he might be setting something up for 4 rounds in advance. And again, by like round 9, I had it like 5-4 Bernard Hopkins, but it was very close. And then he just sets up he did this like feint that he had thrown a jab most of the time, and then he just rips a crazy body shot to Oscar De La Hoya, knocks him down, and that was the fight. He didn't beat the count. And it was in round 9. He had been doing the same move since round 2, adds a little, like, changes it from a jab to a feint, ducks low, 5 straight to the liver. Oscar De La Hoya, who's one of the best boxers of all time, couldn't get up, didn't beat the count, won it. And so yeah, it's I think it's so beautiful. Like
It is, yeah.
I've liked UFC and MMA for much longer, and I still am a huge UFC fan, but I think I've learned enough to where I can recognize the nuances, and they're 2 different things that I both love, but it's very interesting coming from the perspective of someone who's actually sparred and I've trained very often, so it's been fun for sure, but there's definitely some subjectivity to it when it goes to the scoring.
Yeah, I feel like at that level it gets so exciting to see like all these. It's more unpredictable, I guess.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that side of it a lot. And
100%.
yeah. So with 1 year left, Zach, what's your goals, vision for the last year in Michigan?
That's a great question. I mean, generally, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I'll start with boxing because we've talked about that a little bit, and then I'll kind of move on to school really quickly. But boxing next year, I definitely want to have at least probably 2 or 3 fights before nationals. I think is a reasonable goal, and then maybe try to exceed it if based on kind of what. Well, it always depends on what events get planned or what we're a part of. So I just want to continue to stay in good shape this summer. I have an internship in DC where I'm from, so I'll be able to be at home, which will be helpful. And I'm going to be going to this. I think I'll be going to the gym I've been going to for a while throughout high school, but because they just expanded and they have a boxing area, which I'm excited to try out. So yeah, I just want to try to be in there most days. I want to, so I can really jump back and feel like I didn't really miss a beat next year. So I want to continue to be a leader, whether it's as part of a board position or not. I like leading by example. I like helping out. And so I want to continue my streak of missing as few practices as possible because I really do love this stuff. And then, yeah, I mean, next year I'm hoping to get a return offer from my internship and probably start my professional career there somewhere. And then I'm living with a different group of people next year. One of them is my really good friend, and then it's a bunch of his friends that I know and I'm friendly with them, but not super close with. So I'm excited to tap into that like new friend group, and even this semester where a lot of my friends are abroad now. I've lived with a new group of people who I was friendly with, but again, not super close with. And we've gotten so close the past 4 months. So I'm excited to see what happens in 9 months with a full year with those guys.
We were talking before. We always see you guys outside.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that porch. I mean, especially
it's a good spot too. The corner.
It's a great spot. Great people watching. Just sit in the long chair. Hang out. Made a meal. Eat it in the sun. Like hang out with the guys. Whatever.
If only you had more warm days.
Yeah, I know. It's end of the year snuck up on me for sure. But yeah, I mean, I definitely want to finish my academic career here strong. I've gotten pretty good grades throughout, and classes have been hard this semester, so I'm crossing my fingers. There's some stuff up in the air, but really just continue to better myself. Honestly, like again, say yes to more things. That's always a goal of mine. I think having a go for it attitude is so important. Life's too short to say no to too many things. I think trying new things. I actually told my friend who does do jiu-jitsu, I told him I want to take him to one of the boxing workouts, and I'll go to jiu-jitsu with him. So hopefully can do some of that. But yeah, I mean, nothing crazy. Just make some new friends. Stay close with the friends I do have. Be a good friend myself. I feel like I've realized as I've grown up, I feel like I've realized that there's a difference between empathy and advice, and I think those two things have a meaningful role in different situations. And I think sometimes I'm a little blunt and will give good advice that maybe my friend doesn't want to hear. Sometimes you need to give some empathy and just understand and listen. So I want to continue to do that and just be able to foster some new relationships, keep the ones strong that I have already, and just enjoy my last year here. And because, as Aden said, like it flies by, and I don't want to have any regrets. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
Great. What about you, Aden? You got our summer coming up. You'll be here for a bit, and then you're off to work on the ships.
I know, dude. I was, like you said, I plan to be in Ann Arbor for a little while longer. A month or two, but I'm in this weird spot where, I mean, everyone eventually comes to this point in their life where every year previously I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing next year. I know what I'm doing, or in terms of school, I know what I'm doing in the fall. When you're in high school, I'm gonna come back to high school. When you're done with high school, you're going to college. I know I'm gonna be there in a year or in 3 months or whatever. And then all throughout college, you're like, okay, next year I'm just going to be back here doing my thing. And now I'm at this point where I have no idea where I could be in 3 months in August. Like, so little of a clue that like I can't even give examples. I mean, seriously. And it's kind of scary. It's kind of like, even though it's like a really common experience, it's kind of like embarrassing. It's kind of like, oh yeah, like I don't have a plan. I have, not that I don't have a plan, but
you don't have a pathway directly towards that plan.
And it's not set in stone.
Straight.
Yeah. I have goals. I have things I want to do in the future. I could articulate those to you, but how I'm gonna get there and what the first step of that journey looks like, I had no idea, and like I said, it's like kind of like, oh man, like am I gonna look like a fool, like a crazy person because I don't know what I'm doing, and my whole life I've always known what I'm doing, like, and been very certain about that, and like
I think it's stressful, but there's almost like a beauty to it as well.
For sure,
like
for
it's
sure.
liberating. You'll end up where you need to be, but sometimes it's a new stage of your life, and it's gonna be awesome in different ways. And I feel like sometimes you got to jump into the abyss of not knowing where it ends to land on your feet. I guess I don't know. That's how I feel, but I'm not in the position. Maybe I'll be a little more stressed out.
Sometimes from the outside though, you can look at what's going on with someone else and see the full picture more clearly than that person can. So advice like that definitely helps me a ton.
Yeah, I mean, I've also never been I've kind of had the path set until now, but I feel like in moments of chaos, it sucks, but then you get the best insights at the end of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's kind of crazy. One day you wake up and this thing start to click, and I feel like hopefully with this summer coming and one step at a time, things start falling.
Yeah, for sure. That's all you can ask for is just figure it out day by day, and keep working hard, keep your good habits like you're talking about.
Stacking proof.
Right.
Attitudes.
I've made it this far.
Attitudes.
Made it this far. I know I can keep going.
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Yeah. Thanks for coming. This has been a lot of fun. Did we miss anything that we need to talk about?
No. I feel like I forced my philosophy on everyone, so mission accomplished.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarity in our experiences, which is really cool.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that, to be honest. That's cool. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be going up north, Aden, on Wednesday.
Oh,
Nice.
really?
Yeah, UP. You both been? No, you've probably been. Right?
I've never been to UP. I know it's
I've
crazy
been to UP.
coming from
Yeah.
someone that has lived in Michigan his whole life, but
It's you're from DC. Okay, yeah, you went up there north at all? Or?
No, I haven't. I definitely want to make a trip up there at some point. But no, I haven't. There's some U.S. bucket list spots I got for sure.
what are you gonna do? I'm sorry. I don't know if you're trying to wrap this up, but I'm curious.
We got time. So we're driving up and staying in a cabin.
You and some friends?
Yeah, we pictured rocks.
Oh, you told me about
Oh,
this.
did I? Was that the bonfire?
Briefly,
Okay,
yeah.
So we're just not camping. We're gonna be in a cabin, just hiking, exploring.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I need some time off.
I don't.
It's like those cliffs off Lake Superior, right?
Yeah, it looks insane.
Yeah, it's you wouldn't believe it's in Michigan because it's forest dense, northern forest, and then this drop off. I don't know how tall it is, 50 or 60 feet.
We're trying to do this 10-mile
Lake
hike or
Superior.
something around the whole thing.
I might be going. I have the whole month of May before my internship starts, and my uncle lives in Portland, Maine, but he has a house in Carabasset Valley, which is
Maine.
kind of right in the western mountains of Maine.
I've never heard of this.
It's
Have you been to Maine, Aden? Or?
It's like 15 minutes away from Sugarloaf Mountain, which is the biggest ski mountain on the East Coast. And so I've been going there since a kid, and me and my mom have been going up the past, every other summer, I would say, and me and her both love to hike, and there's gorgeous hikes, gorgeous
Acadia?
lakes. Yeah.
I
I've been
love
there.
Acadia.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
and then there's so many beautiful mountains. It's just like you said, kind of a ton of dense forest, rolling mountains and hills, and then tons of lakes. So I've gotten some insane views from up there, and it's
crazy.
Again, just yeah.
I think there's that one mountain where they're the first person to see the sunrise in the U.S.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the continental
Yeah.
North America,
Wow.
South
I think it
America, the whole
rises.
thing. Yeah.
When we went there, the sun rose at 3:30 a.m. or something.
Jeez,
Um,
that's crazy.
Oh no, we
That's
got there
crazy.
at 3:30 to see the
Okay.
sunrise. I don't know. It rose about sometime. But you go to the top of the cliffs.
Hiking
You're the
is
first
awesome.
person to see.
Right,
Oh,
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this last month has been such a grind, and just 3 or 4 days off just to be in the mountains sounds like a lot of fun.
That's gonna be sweet.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went camping for spring break. I
Oh,
don't know
you
if I
did?
told you that
No, tell
at
me,
the
I don't
same
think
time in North Carolina.
So. No, you didn't.
Oh
tell
yeah.
Me.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Tell me about
It was just me and my brother dropped me off, and we went fishing the first day, and he picked me up. But I was there for 3 nights
On your own.
by myself, which was I'd done an overnight camping. I've done that before, but not day to day before. And it's just like you were saying, a couple days in the mountains, and I mean it's the Appalachian Mountains, so yeah, like foothills kind of. It's nothing crazy, but it was a crazy experience. It was like weird to be alone for that long, and
Do you interact with any humans at that time, or the people in the area, or just on your own the whole time?
I don't know. I had my phone. I had reception, so I like sent some text, but I didn't. I brought a charging block, but I didn't check if it would like actually work and plug into my phone, and it didn't. So I had like 30%, and I had like I don't know, like a whole 24 hours or something like that before I was getting picked up, and I was like, oh my god, I have to make this last for another day, or else I just have to trust that my brother's gonna be at the pickup spot tomorrow at 11 a.m. So that was stressful, but there was like people. It wasn't a huge park, so there people would come park and walk their dogs or go fishing or whatever. And I'd see boats out on the lake that I was camping right next to all the time, and hear them. So it wasn't total isolation, which I think was a good thing, because had I gone from being like a overnight camper to
3 days total
in the North Carolina wilderness all by myself,
That'd be pretty. Mentally, it'd be insane.
Crazy, yeah, and it's like weird to not have conversations with people or anything like that. And
yeah, how many words do you think you spoke within those 3 days?
Two other people, not a lot.
I speak to myself a lot.
Myself, yeah, like just talking out loud. It sounds crazy. It sounds crazy saying it right now, but when you're out there in the woods and you're like just making noise, it's not that crazy. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna boil some water.
Oh my god! Let me tell you, there's no like more pure joy you feel when you wake up after sleeping outside in the dark. It gets dark at like 8, so like you go to bed super early, can't sleep, and you wake up and then the sun starts to rise, and like I would make my oatmeal, and I pack like peanut butter, and it's just like shitty instant oatmeal and like a scoop of peanut butter, and then I'd eat that, be in a great mood. Then I drink a tea. I brought like a bunch of tea bags and just heated up water and drank that 2 or 3 times a day. Highly recommend if you go camping, bring tea. And I just would smile for like 2 hours because I was just so pumped to like I survived the night. Like, wow. It was so exciting, and it's so simple and silly, but
that's something I want to experience. Because like I think being alone is something that's so interesting because you just got a lot of time with your thoughts.
Yeah, I need to get better at that. That's one thing. I think I can improve on. Just being more satisfied with doing nothing almost, and just being with myself. It's hard, and yeah, I feel like I'm kind of a social butterfly. I like talking. I like hanging out with my friends, and I think I definitely again, like I've said, I definitely recognize the value of being alone and just being able to think. I think being bored is an incredibly important value that, again, I think is lost in a lot of people's minds because there's a constant stimulation you can have, whether it's Instagram Reels or TikTok or whatever you're doing. So I think being bored and being able to just think and reflect is super important. And I think I can improve on that, so that's something I'm working on.
Yeah.
So I definitely recognize the value in that.
I feel the same way because, I mean, I can't remember the longest time I spent by myself. You know, like pretty much every day, like all day I'm interacting with people. You know, I barely even go home, you know?
Yeah.
And it's probably good just like every now and then just spend a little time on your own.
But even if it's like, I don't know, maybe if I practice what I preach, I'll walk back today, sort of walk back somewhere, not listening to music and just thinking and enjoying the sunlight and the, noises of everything. And I think it's like very valuable. And that's probably what you were doing when you were just
we were doing.
Yeah,
reading.
I mean that's a great
way.
way.
And you hear the water ripple if you're on the lake or something. And
yeah, solo camping is a great way to train those little like
for sure.
I don't want to say skills because it's subconscious, but to work that muscle.
Internal comfort of being alone.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time trying to whittle like a little bear out of a piece of wood. That took a long time. That was fun. Reading, just walking around. You would be surprised by the time. So you wake up, and then by the time you you make a breakfast and gather up all your supplies and your tent to go to the next place, it's been like 2 or 3 hours. And because every like little things take a lot longer. Making a meal takes a lot longer. Brushing your teeth takes longer. Going to the bathroom takes longer.
So
well, you have more time, but you have less convenience, so you have to like
yeah.
put more time and effort into things, into little things. And so 2-3 hours go by, pack up my stuff, go walk somewhere else, and then the sun's gonna go down in 2 hours. I better start setting up right now, or else I'm gonna have to set up in the dark, and that's no fun. And
30,
so you don't
30% on your phone. No
you don't
flashlight.
you don't have like you don't have as much time in the day as like downtime.
Yeah.
So that took up obviously the vast majority of my time was just like chores almost.
Yeah.
It's funny. And I think you're gonna have a great time going up north, because I think you're gonna have a similar experience, and I recommend solo camping.
I'll try
Is
that.
yeah.
I've never even camping to begin with, so. But I definitely really want to.
And it's not that hard to get into on your own. I've bought a bunch of stuff secondhand this last summer when I was in Texas, and
Yeah, you told me about that. Your first.
oh right,
night,
the crazy. There's
there's some car, some dude. Or
yeah.
something.
The first time I tried. Oh, was it the first or second time? Okay, so I bought all this stuff this summer. I was away in an internship, so I made a ton of new friends. I didn't know anyone there. This was in Houston. I grew up in Michigan, obviously where we go to school. And that's a great opportunity to go try new things. And I have a lot of friends that really like camping, and I've always wanted to try camping. So I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna go buy a bunch of stuff. I probably spent like $300 or $400, but I got stuff that you can have. You can reuse over and over and over again. A bag, a sleeping bag, stuff like that. So it's a good investment. And I did some research looking for like parks in the area, and this is like just outside of Houston, so it's kind of like you got to go drive like an hour or whatever to find a decent spot that there isn't near highways, because there's just highways everywhere down there.
Yeah.
And so my first time was going to this park in state forest, and what a state forest is basically like a border, kind of like how a town has a border, but there's like people's property in it. In a state forest, people can like own property in the state forest and live within the bounds of this state forest, but a lot of like the existing land is protected or just used for recreation or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just go here and I can camp anywhere here because it's all within the state forest boundary. Apparently that's not the case, because I go to this plot of land right next to like a Boy Scout camp or whatever, and I didn't see anyone there. I parked. I walked out there. I set up my camp. Nothing happened. I like swam in the pond that was there and like messed around, and it was a great time. And I'm walking back to my tent to go start making food, and it's starting to get dark. And this like ATV pulls up behind me with these three not kids, but like, I don't know, high school, college age people in it. And they're like, "Who are you?" And I just got out this pond. I'm like smelly, dripping, and like gross pond water. I don't have a shirt on. I've got like I'm wearing weird clothes because like you don't wear nice clothes when you go camping in Texas in the summer. You wear like stuff that you don't care about. So I look like a homeless guy. I'm like, and I was kind of like worried. I didn't know who these people were. So like try not to answer their questions. I try not to tell them like who I am or what I'm doing, and I eventually just gave up, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just camping right here, And they're like, you can't do that. This land is owned by the Boy Scouts of America or Scouts of America, whatever. And I was like, why not? I mean, they're like, well, I'm like, why not? It's in the state forest, this is public land. And they're like, you definitely can't. You got to sign all these forms and stuff if you want to use this land because of like
liability or something.
Yeah, like because of all this like crap that's happened with the Boy Scouts in the last 10 years. They're like, no one can be on Boy Scout property unless they like know who you are, did a background check, all this crazy stuff, because they don't want any like creepy people, like camping on Boy Scout property where there's campers.
Sounds like you were looking pretty creepy.
I certainly was, and I probably would have been suspicious and left had there been any campers there, but there were no campers there because that was the one day of the week that they didn't have anyone. And I was like talking to them, I was like, come on, I just set up my tent, like I gathered firewood also, and like they're like, no, dude, you have to leave. And I'm like, what if I leave at like 6 a.m. tomorrow, like early in the morning? They're like, nope, you gotta go. And they like followed my car out the gates. I felt like I was being escorted out of like into exile. It was weird. And then I was like, okay, fuck, what do I do now? It's like, it's dark, and I'm an hour away from home, and I ended up just finding another spot that was like designated camping spot. You didn't have to pay to get in. It's like basically park, short trail, and you can set up your tent anywhere. And I was like, okay, great, not that much further away. And I go there, and there's one other person there. Of course, there's someone there. You know, it's like a Saturday night at 11:30, and there's this dude there. And I see this weird contraption in the field. I'm like, great, this guy's doing like science experiments out in the woods, right? This could not be worse. And
it's the beginning of a horror movie.
Dude, seriously. And then I go out there, and I was not playing around. I just walked up to this guy, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm collecting bugs. And so I look at I look at the contraption he's got, and it's like this big UV light, or like I don't know if it's UV, but it's a big purple light.
Yeah.
And it's cast down on this tarp, and he's like walking around it and like picking out bugs off of it. And I started asking him questions because I want to make sure it's not like a death machine and he's just lying to me. And he's like, yeah, the bugs, they come here and I pick them up and I collect them and I take them home. And I was like, how long have you been doing this? This is such a weird hobby this is a weird thing to do. Like, I straight up was like, this is strange that you're doing this. And he's like,
the bug man.
He was like, this is the first time I've ever done this.
It's a death machine, bro. Be careful.
And so I was shocked. Anyway, I was too tired, too sweaty to like be bothered by it, and I just drove a little further away from him, and I camped down around the corner. I tried to start a fire for like an hour. I couldn't start a fire.
It's like 2 in the morning now.
It was a little early. It was probably closer to midnight though. Still late. And I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna sleep. And that was for some reason I decided I want to do that again. So I went camping again later in a different spot, and everything went smoothly. But when I got there, this is a different location. There's like a tarp tent in the back corner of the camp zone. I don't know. It's like this big open area, and then in one corner there's this like makeshift shack made out of tarps and other garbage, and there's garbage all over the place in that corner. I'm like, whatever, I'm just gonna stay away from that. I didn't see anyone, I didn't hear anyone, so I was like, cool, fine with me. I just parked on the other side and camped right outside my car, and everything went great for like 3 or 4 hours, and I cooked like some sausage I got from a gas station or whatever, like a deli. It was fantastic. It was like the best plain sausage I've ever had in my life, because I was just so hungry, and I cooked it myself, and I was like, this is so awesome. And I set up my tent, and I was like reading, and it was maybe, it's early because the sun goes down and then you don't have like lights to keep you awake. And I lay down, and I'm about to go to bed, and I couldn't really fall asleep. And every now and then a car would go by and you could hear it, and it was like whatever. And then I start to hear this noise coming up the road, and I think, oh, it's just another car coming by. But it's like going slower than a car, and I'm like, that's weird. Maybe someone's pulling in here or something, and it just keeps getting louder and louder and louder, and I'm like, okay, it's definitely not a car. And I'm just trying to ignore it because it's, whatever. It's not too out of the ordinary. And then all of a sudden it gets like gradually much louder, and I sit up and I look, and this dude on a bike, like I just see his silhouette. I couldn't see him at all. Just goes like 5 feet from my tent, and I just stare at him, and I think he's staring at me as he goes by, back around the corner to the tent set up with all the trash, and like I was like, screw this, dude, I'm out of here. I think in less than 5 minutes I had all my stuff stuffed into the back of my car. I was like, and I was out of there. And I was out of there. It's not worth it.
These are the worst stories.
90% chance I probably would have, nothing would have happened. It would have been fine.
10%'s too high.
Bro, it would have been so easy for him. And I just remember this thought going through my head when I was there, and I was like deciding, should I stay? Should I leave? It would be so easy for him to just like pick up a rock while I'm sleeping and just walk up to my tent that's this thick and just drop it on my face. And just like, I was just picturing my face just going, and then like guts splattering everywhere, and that being it for me just because I was too stubborn to leave this stupid campsite. I drove to a Waffle House, and I was like, okay, maybe I can salvage some joy out of this night. And they were closed for dine-in and only open for takeout. And I was like, screw that. And so I drove home and I slept in my bed that night.
Dude.
But it was fun. I don't regret it.
I think I'm really excited to go camping now.
Yeah, you're gonna have a great time.
Yeah.
Especially with your friends, it'll be fun.
Yeah, we're staying in a cabin.
Oh
We're
yeah,
not
you are.
camping, but I will.
That's
have
awesome.
fun.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
It's the next step.
You ever been camping or no?
I've been camping when I was younger with my dad and my siblings, but yeah, just kind of overnight stuff like set up a tent, fire, play games, go to bed, go to Denny's the next morning. That was our tradition.
That's like 85% of the good fun experience you can get out of camping. You can get it in one night.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to do a week-long trip
Yeah.
backpacking through the Rockies or whatever.
That could be cool though.
That would be cool.
Right. But yeah, if you want that last like 15% of adventure and awesomeness, like you can get it. You can get it for a lot more effort, but
Yeah.
That's
just going out and sleeping while breathing fresh air in all night is like totally game changing. I don't know. You wake up and just feel, even if you got like 5 hours of sleep, you just feel good. And then you go do physical activity all day and you crash, and it's a great experience.
Yeah, I'm planning to, along similar lines, do like a cross-country road trip this summer. Just because I'll be in Cali and I wanted my car, so it'd be nice to kind of go from Jersey to Cali.
Oh, you're gonna work out in Cali this
Yeah.
summer? Yeah, I know a couple people that have done that same thing. They work on the West Coast, and when they go there, they take a week or two.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'd be
It's a
fun.
good move.
I love road trips, so, I-80 all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
What kind of stops will you see on the way?
I haven't
there?
decided.
Planned.
So if I were to go 6 hours a day, it takes 7 days. I don't know how much I want to drive, how much I want to like hang out. So I'll keep it spontaneous. I don't want to take too long, but I also don't want to like rush it. Like I'll take my time, like spend a couple hours like visiting cool areas. But a lot of the drive is just through like Midwest and like fields. But I'm sure you can.
But then once you get like to like Colorado, Nevada,
Yeah, that'd be
that's
sick.
pretty cool.
Because I don't know if I'm gonna be in SoCal or in SF yet.
Oh.
Because I'm working an internship that's remote, and because it's a startup and they all work online. But I'll also be working on like my own startup at the same time. I'm trying to figure out like where it'd be best for me, like San Diego or SF. But yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. But wherever it is, just drive out and spend like 2 months there.
Is the decision mainly based in how much your location will benefit your startup or benefit the work you do for the other people, or like, and maybe explain what your startup is? I'm unfamiliar.
There's two things that are going through my mind when making this decision. So for my internship, it doesn't really matter where I'll be for the internship because I just have to do the work for them and work on some like AI security project. My own startup is like related to health tech, and as you know, like SF is the biggest place for tech and startups in general. So I feel like being there, just the density of talent and just meeting people would probably benefit me a lot because like I might run into someone in the coffee shop who changes my life. The amount of VCs there and everything. That's not to say like I need SF to make it successful, but just the density of talent is something I want to experience and I've never like felt before. Like Michigan's obviously like a really high level, but then like SF is like a whole other level.
Yeah.
In terms of like tech.
Of course. Yeah. Globally.
My brother's in SF, and I was just there this this past weekend. All of his friends are working in some very cool, like up and coming tech thing, or like Google.
It's cool, man. And the whole Bay, like Santa Clara and Palo Alto.
It's awesome.
San Diego, I feel like the lifestyle would be pretty fun.
San Diego might be the best, like, all around living experience.
I think so, man.
Because
like my dream is like
better weather than LA, better people than LA.
Yeah.
Slightly cheaper, still expensive, obviously, but like.
Because like,
still, and then it does have some good startup talent and stuff. Nothing like the Bay, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Because for me, it's like obviously my work is very important, and I want to like do like 4 to 7 hours of like quality work every day, but also like go to the beach and like find a boxing gym and like learn new skills and meet new people and like.
San Diego would be great for MMA or like anything you're trying to do, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing. There's definitely a ton of stuff.
Another thing is like SoCal is really big in health tech, and like we're building like a type 1 diabetes app, and the current like leading continuous glucose monitor company is based in San Diego, and eventually our goal is to partner with them for the product we're building. So I think there is benefit in being in San Diego from that perspective, but I feel like the opportunity cost of not being in SF at a time like this is like, so I haven't decided yet. I'll probably spend like hours talking to Claude or some shit.
Yeah.
But I'll have to think about that. But I plan to be in Jersey for about a month, and I think train at like wherever Reagan trains in Jersey too.
That'd be sick. Yeah, she said good things.
Yeah. then do the first week of June, drive out to Cali, and spend the last 2 months there before driving to Michigan. So,
Oh yeah,
but we'll see, man. So,
it's awesome.
cool. Well, we got practice in an hour. Are you both going or?
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks,
This is,
man.
Yeah,
great.
man,
This is the last
thanks
podcast we're doing this semester.
Thanks for having
So-
us. This was awesome.
Yeah.
I was excited when you brought it up to me, so glad we could
Cool.
make it happen.
Well, hope
Got
you
through
guys
some
enjoyed
cool
it.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of cool topics, and hopefully we can run it back next year, Zach.
Yeah,
And
love
hopefully you
to.
guys are coming in.
I'll be around. You know,
Yeah,
I
notice
could
if
never
you're-
come back to Ann Arbor and not stop in and
Yeah, of
check
course.
in with the team.
That'd be great. All right, take care. Have a good summer.
Thanks,
All
bro.
right.